Welcome everyone to another episode of Kentucky Go Digital Live. My name is Heather Worrell with the Office of Education Technology, and today is episode number 2 in our Principal series showcasing innovative instructional coaching, feedback, and collaboration models. Last week, we featured East Hardin Middle School Principal Brittany Nickel and how she is using Google Forms and Autocrat to create an efficient instructional walkthrough system. If you missed it, that's okay. You can always go back to our Kentucky Go Digital Live channel and watch it on demand. I am joined today by our fabulous Kentucky Go Digital Live team, Miss Brooke Whitlow, the Instructional Technology Coordinator of Hardin County Schools, Miss Elaine Abernathy, the Technology Integration Specialist of McCracken County Schools, and the newest member of our team, introducing Miss Courtney DeRossett, Chief Information Officer, aka CIO, for Floyd County Schools out there in Eastern Kentucky. Hi, ladies.
Hey guys, we're happy to be here. This is going to be the episode of a lifetime. We are so excited. Hopefully you've seen us on Twitter talking about this one, but I know it will not disappoint.
Super happy to be here. Glad everybody can join us.
Excited to be a part of this team and can't wait to see what the episode shows.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Today, we are ecstatic to bring you Wes Bradley, the principal of Thomas Nelson High School in Bardstown, Kentucky, a top 10 Kentucky high school and Tell Kentucky Winner Circle School. For those of you who don't know Wes, he is my former colleague, and I was honored to serve as his vice principal of culture and innovation prior to joining the digital learning team at KDE. For those of you who haven't met Wes, he is a brilliant school leader and has vast experiences as an educator. He originally taught in the Bronx and earned his master's degree from Columbia University in New York City. He then went on to serve as an assistant principal of Perspectives Charter School in inner city Chicago before coming home to launch Thomas Nelson High School in Bardstown, Kentucky. Wes is a truly brilliant school leader, and his school has served as a model by hosting school districts each month during what they call the Purple Cow Showcase Day in order to share their school culture and tech integration. Wes, welcome to our show today. We can't wait to learn from you about your innovative coaching model and how you're using Google tools. So welcome to Wes.
Thanks, Heather. I am going to screen share here. Here we go. All right, we good to go? Is that a yes?
Yes, we're good to go. We see your screen. Sorry.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Heather, for the intro. I'm excited to be part of the second episode and looking forward to seeing future episodes. I'm going to start out the conversation today with the question that we as a school continue to come back to each year. And I think the important piece of this question is together. And that's really the focus for the work from instructional collaboration standpoint. And that's why we're here today, is to talk a little bit about an instructional collaboration model and digital workflow model that reinforce each other. So with that said, there are a few principles that I want to introduce. These are not new by any means. I think if you look at the edu research and edu jargon, there's certainly some redundancy here, but these are 4 ideas that are really central to our work. And I'll start out with the first one, coherence and capacity, which I think in many ways, coherence and capacity go hand in hand. The idea of aligning the work of the school in terms of mission and vision and values to the daily systems and actions that occur are really so important to building capacity. I cannot stress enough that an instructional collaboration model is only as good as it can build capacity of those using it and those users on all ends. So a lot of that capacity comes from these ideas of coherence. I think we recognize in our school systems what it looks like when there's incoherence. And the high cost of that really is learning. And when we're not learning, we lose energy, we're losing time, and our actions eventually begin to dissipate. That can also be said for the digital disconnect that we faced, whether we're using multiple forums or there's just simply a disconnect on how we use them and how they reinforce each other. They lead to the same type of incoherence, loss of learning, action, energy, and time. So this model that we're talking about today is all driven through a Google network and structure, whether it be docs, presentations, sheets, classroom, or blogger. And I can't stress enough that while part of this coherence and capacity building comes in many ways from a digital coherence model that creates a very smooth workflow. So coherence is the key. The second idea, this idea that everyone in the system has to be a leader of that system. If you haven't had a chance to read Whiplash from the MIT Media Lab, probably one of the more powerful books that I've read in terms of thinking about how does learning occur in organizations and what are some principles that we should depend on. One of those is this idea of emergent learning and emergent systems that take intelligence from everyone within that system. The principles in this book are so relevant to the work we do at schools, so relevant to the teaching that we do. The words in white are really the over, and the work that comes out of this book is certainly impactful on the work we're doing at Thomas Nelson. So I'll just stick at the first two here. Emergence over authority. Traditional models of coaching really look at someone is the master teacher or the authority figure. And this is really more about how do we create a space for emergent learning to occur. In the same way, instead of pushing it on people or pushing it out to people, we're pulling in that intelligence from the edges of the organization. Thirdly, this idea of together we're brilliant. Each of us have this and have a unique intelligence and framework, and the idea of multiplying intelligence has to come from within the system. The degree to which that system can multiply intelligence will really determine the degree to which it is successful or not. I've been instructional coaching for 8-10 years now, and I can tell you that while I might think that I'm pretty sharp, my capacity is very limited in a one-on-one relationship over time. And I think the diversity that we can create in a coaching process is really important to that, because the user, whoever it is that is really the center point of that coaching process, has to have multiple entry points to strengthen their awareness. I think this is what we hope the coaching process feels like when we're open. There are multiple entry points and multiple avenues for each of us to learn. So this versus this is really what we're shooting for in this process. Lastly, the final piece is whatever the process is has to always be living. The key is make it better now. Don't wait till the end of the year to start something new. You have to make it better today or people give up on it. It has to be open for everyone to use it, not just a select group of people. It has to be continuously cleansed. And when that happens, there is really a self-propelling energy created in that system that shows that creates a sense of reciprocity and mutual accountability. With that in mind, we will begin to look at this coherence and capacity in our instructional system. So this session is really about instructional systems and actions, and the coherence there is the same as we're shooting for in any system. So in our case, we have a process that is really driven by our mission, and see this as an individual in our organization in the middle here, flying closer, and think about this work as a collaborative ecosystem that really is continually evolving and reinforcing itself through what we see as mission-driven programs, vision-aligned work through Connect, Care, Create, and value-driven systems. Those are really at the foundation of it all. And then we move over into this work of being on a team. And teachers are on a number of different teams, but in this case, when you talk about collaboration from the standpoint of instruction, the PLC team and the shared focus there is a key indicator of that alignment. Additionally, we do another piece that is very much about building capacity, where in many places, I know this is probably called peer observations. In our case, we call it spacewalking, and the spacewalking happens monthly through this shared focus on the PLC and the teacher's individual mission-driven collaborative. And lastly, as administrators and instructional coaches, we also have one-to-one instructional collaboration that goes on on a 3-week cycle, even though we work to see and collaborate with every teacher at least once a week, even if it's 5-10 minute touch point. So this ecosystem is really a part of that coherence model when you look at instructional practices. So we'll start with the first piece, and there's a document that is we call the MDC. It is essentially just a Google Doc that grows over time, and that's distributed through Google Classroom to every teacher. So our school has a Google Classroom for teachers, so we do have these shared documents that they're able to create those with ease. This document, when you think about mission alignment, the starting point for coaching has to start with this human element. If we're not honoring the work as a relational piece, then we're really missing the point. And I think for us, this conversation at the top is always where we start. This is the first year we've included it directly in the document. And that's something that we've learned over time is if you don't include something directly in the document, you either need to recognize that it will be gone forever because you will not look at it again. And so you have to evaluate, do you value this to the degree that it should be in the document? So we feel like these conversations are so important that we need to have them ongoing throughout the year. And this aligns to our vision of connecting with each other, taking care of each other, and creating a better future. Additionally, in our document, you also see dates for coaching, and this really helps us create coherence. I'm not sure, got that idea from, I think, another school that had adapted our model. They had included dates, maybe it was Bullitt East, really helped me think about how we could be more coherent in planning over time. There are 2 sections in the MDC document, and one of those is culture and leadership. The other is instruction. And these have been part of our focus for 5 years. Each year we've kind of simplified them further. But those are 2 key pieces that we're looking at is creating culture in your classroom and then the instructional process. While we do create a space for teachers to focus on the mission, vision, and values of Thomas Nelson, they really customize this. So we've moved more towards questions, and they might choose to focus on 1 or 2 of these questions and get rid of the rest of them. But it is very much the more custom we can make this, the more likely there is to create value from it within the guise of the larger mission and vision. Same with instruction, is there are questions over here that allow them to think, is this something I want to focus on? Is this something I should be focusing on? So this essentially, the questions turn into their answer and or their focus. So I'm going to click here to show a blank copy of what this looks like. And so when we go into a classroom, we usually do that following this conversation where a teacher may choose to focus on, let's say, growth mindset. And through our conversation, living collaboration, will that be in the classroom? So say I went in there today, I may put that. They have established some look-fors over here that are really specific to them. My conversation here is really observing their focus and look-fors. So instead of looking at everything, I'm looking at what they want to focus on. In the same way over here for instruction. So you'll see teachers, they might be focused on just formative questioning as a group, and the rest of this disappears because that is not in their focus right now. There are some embedded links too that we use just to build capacity if we need to. These take them to our team to other visions, etc. There are also this piece of coherence here. So together we are brilliant, reinforcing that in the model through acknowledging their PLC instructional focus. And additionally, the opportunity to look at what we call flight plans, which are traditionally pacing plans, which is their ongoing living flight path that shows where they've been and where they're going. But either way, you can see my conversation here. It's open for all to see. Multiple people have access to this document. Indeed, everyone in the school will talk further about. So back to together we're brilliant. So this is an example of a teacher and a collaborator, one of the assistant principals collaborating. You can see this is what came of that one side for this year. It's a very acute focus on these things. This was her overall focus for culture and leadership, in her 3-week action step, because we're seeing the teacher on a 3-week cycle. Same over here. You can see very customized. And in many ways, this work in instruction oftentimes will reinforce this cultural goal as well. Notice that the teacher is using pink to respond to the questions and inquiry. This teacher is really highly engaged and reflective, as you can see. What we found is creating a space that is open, that is driven by questions, is really important to that process. Here is an example of It's Always Living. This is said teacher, name removed, with a living process. So again, you can see the notes are there. If I go in today into that classroom, I'm looking over here at the focus for the PLC and the focus that she's established down here to help guide my collaboration. Without that focus, there essentially is too much to look at, and what do they call it? Fatigue, and initiative fatigue really sets in so many ways. So we are in many ways here just creating a space for ongoing conversation. So this will grow over the course of the year. Sometimes at the end of the semester, we might hit reset depending on the document. Other times we'll just continue to build this conversation each year. Throughout the whole year. So, and so important to this process is opening up whatever the walkthrough process or collaboration model that we have is. So important that we move that from administrator to teacher, and just about one-to-one from me to this idea of that we are working with a wider array of people. And that's really where our collaborative ecosystem, I think, builds upon this idea of PLCs and monthly spacewalks have to reinforce the focus that's going on in the individual work as well. If those things don't speak to each other, we're having a lot of residual loss of energy and time. And essentially, we will not be as smart as we could be. Coherence here is really important. And this is something that we have learned really, I think, in time, that when the PLCs are not connected and don't create a space for the individual MDC work to come together, we're losing energy and intelligence. So the PLC work is essential too to this infrastructure. PLC work, we have a slide deck. Each PLC team has an MDC that's on one slide. It's on a presentation, and they access that through our shared blog. And the shared blog for us looks really like a website. Here, I will just take it over here. And this is our blog. They access all of their PLC data through their own blogs and through what we call PLC Orbits, which is a shared presentation for PLCs. So that they have their own MDCs for their teams on here, which you'll see an example of. So back to, so a big part of this work here, so this is an example of a PLC team planning in an MDC that they have created, and they have overlap here, a lot of overlap you'll see between what that teacher chose as her focus and the focus for the team here. So we focus on two things: this idea of student thinking, the reading, writing, speaking, listening, and that they choose as a team where they fall within there. And the other part of the PLC work is how do we use our time and space? How are we creating space in PLCs to look at things that align directly with this process on the left side? So with that, most importantly is we do create a space for monthly spacewalks. Every teacher, in the past, we've done this twice a year where they did it for a whole day. Now we do it every month. They do it for 2 periods. So the idea is, going back to the vision we've talked about, care, connect, create, creating a space for that, building on a shared focus for the PLC. The residual effects of multiplied intelligence cannot be understated in this process. It also forces the team to continually cleanse their focus and look more closely at that through observations in the classroom. And obviously an opportunity for this ongoing learning. And we have a staff of 30 teachers, and this approximately costs about $8,000. So if you think, we have, that's for our site-based budget, that is a little more than 11% of our overall budget. You think, how much value do you place in professional learning and growth? How much value do you place in multiplying intelligence? This is just really a drop in the bucket of the value I think that we get from that in the process of hiring the subs for those 2 periods. So one thing that's come up, I think, in conversation is really like, do people all have access to this document? And if so, why? And how might that impact some level of compliance or evaluation? And I can tell you that if you're working in a school where there is a great deal of distrust, the best way to begin to move past that is to create transparent systems. Transparency begets trust. You can't have one without the other. In the same sense, if you're going to create an open environment, I mean, if you're going to create an environment where we value intelligence of all, then you have to have openness to create that space. And I can tell you, point number 3 here, growth and learning from teachers has to supersede this level of evaluation. So I know that there's been discussion like, well, what if the teacher, we have some evaluative issues with that teacher? Well, that goes in the PGS evaluation. This is not a space for ongoing evaluation if you're working and you have concerns about someone. And I think the point 4 speaks to that, effective communication and positive collaboration. This is about learning and growth. Putting that on paper in a process like this is just passive aggressive. We want really this opening it up to all makes us all better at asking the right questions that are not rhetorical in nature. That it really forces us to be much more thoughtful collaborators. So just a point there to think about. This is an example on their slides. The arts leaders, they have access. This is one teacher. This is another teacher. You click on the fan, you click on the gas, you click on the matches. So you click on the matches and on their slide deck, and this takes you back to their MDC. That's how they have access to each other's MDC is they essentially create a slide as a part of their PLC that's right below their MDC that you can click on, and it takes you directly. They did this as a part of a contest. This one actually didn't win the contest because they were late entry.
Elaine, you guys are all smiling. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Yeah.
So this is another example of a PLC MDC science team. Notice that their focus is unique. They're looking at they're looking at reading and writing structures in science classes. They're looking specifically at assessment and design in that process, and this is their slide. I'm pretty sure this one won the contest. Each little possum here is a different teacher. So there are 5 of them. If you click over here.
Yes, I worked with the science team when I was at Thomas Nelson, and their mascot is a rodent. And I don't know where they got it from, but I am so excited to see that mascot is still alive and well and carrying out in their PLC narrative. So that's funny stuff. So this one actually won, huh?
I'm pretty sure it won. Yeah, it was just a 10-minute contest or so on a PLC collaboration day. We're a tobacco-free campus, but we did give this a pass. This is a digital cigarette over here too. This guy's got a little tattoo. I'm not sure what that says. I think it says mom on there. Either way, so I click on this guy here. It takes me to the teacher. And notice this guy's a Kentucky fan, and he's customized his a little bit around Big Blue. And notice that his focus areas are different. He's emphasizing student revisions and creating a space for students to be more reflective about their progress. He has a lot going on over here, and this is a guy that I guess I know enjoys taking on a lot. So you can see his work going on in here, and these are spacewalk notes from his team. So that was last week. These are some questions that are guiding their spacewalk, and those will be integrated into the PLC work tomorrow. So this is just an example of a different one. So you can see they do look differently, and we really want to encourage them to have some diversity there. So this is one question people have. Okay, so how do you monitor all these things? Because we know that in order to figure out what's really going on, we do have to take a closer look at that and have an ongoing system of accountability to see if magic is being created. Our monitoring process in many ways comes through daily interactions and a weekly touch point with teachers. and that comes to a Google Sheet. And I would highly encourage you, if you don't use bookmarks, something like this is so important, definitely to bookmark it. If you look here at the top of my sheet, that document can be found right here on this link. So I click this link, it takes me right to this document, and this is where, I guess that was the wrong link. Let's see. So there was actually an assistant principal there using that document right then. So this is our sheet. It looks like this, and you can see that there are teacher names and times that we've gone into those classrooms. We've either collaborated, visited, etc. We click on that teacher's names. It takes us directly to their MDC. And this is really, these conversations sometimes can be 30-minute sit-down collaboration on a 3-week basis. Sometimes they're a 2-minute touch point. Sometimes they're a digital conversation. Much of this work, I think, in thinking about this structure comes from Leverage Leadership by Paul Brambrick-Santoyo and Kim Marshall's Rethinking Supervision and Evaluation from just a few years ago. Probably those books are probably 6 years old, maybe.
Yeah, just looking for my copy. Someone borrow it. There it is over there on the left side. You're pointing that out?
Yep. Right here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's say I go into this document here, Fly Collaboration, and I go into Tina Turner's class today, and I'm like WB 918 and visit, and I just make that guy green, knowing that we've had that touch point. Sometimes you may have multiple touch points with a teacher as well. I mean, there's no rules other than we want to have a touch point each week. So that's really the key. This is another piece, is obviously it's like, well, how do you do that? We got all these other things going on. We set a tri-weekly 30-minute collab with everyone in the building. Every teacher, every person in the building that is employed has a 3-week tri-weekly 30-minute collab. With my leadership team, we do 15 minutes every week, and with our counselors too. But either way, it's still this is the only time we move out of the Google world. We do this through Outlook because it streamlines through our email. That's just, this is basically an appointment recurrence structure that allows us to do that. And we do that right in that first week or two of school and or before school starts. And that's so important. I can't stress enough, like calendar control, such a big part of this process.
Hey, Wes, can you go back to talking about scheduling? We had a question come through on YouTube that says, this is from Mr. Chase Goff in Caverna. Do you intentionally schedule so that all admins see different teachers, the same teachers, et cetera? Can you touch on that for Chase?
Oh, yeah, right here. I think there are times where I have 12 teachers. My assistant principal Courtney has 10 or 12 teachers. Mark has 7 or 8 teachers. So we usually prioritize the teachers we're working closely with, especially if we're collaborating with them in the week ahead. But we try to intentionally diversify it. And there's some beauty in some of it being arbitrary because of the learning that occurs from our end as well. And you can see there are some commonalities across here. For example, I've been in this Tom Thomas's class 4 times, and Courtney was in there once. So there is some redundancy, and that's partly in order to support them as a one-to-one collaborator. We do have to spend a little more time with them. With that said, we do like to mix it up a bit so that we do have an opportunity to see everyone, so we can be able to connect people with strengths and opportunities that we wouldn't otherwise see. We do something similar to this whole process with our leadership team. Everything, it all runs through an MDC process. This is an example of vice principal MDC, and it looks very similar, except it's on one slide. And I found this structure to be the most reasonable to stay focused and used, and everything is living. To try to find placeholders for things is just there's just a lot of loss of energy. This is for another episode, but I did want to make it clear, like we do the same thing for all structures. So back to the key idea, really digital coherence, smooth workflow. We choose Google Docs for that because they allow you to scratch your own itch and make things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to make very easily. The beauty of hyperlinking, Control-K, saves so much time and energy. And this has allowed us to at least build a system we feel has the possibility to create strong coherence and capacity building. But it is ongoing, and we'll continue to grow each day we use it. So that's it.
Awesome. Could you please mute your computer for us? Thank you so much. Let's see. I think he's just there. We go. Okay. Thanks, Wes. You know, I can't believe I've only been away from Thomas Nelson for about a year and a couple months, and your ability to take the previous model and continue to rework it to make it more meaningful and to pull in more feedback and support to teachers through that PLC structure is just fascinating to me. I'm just blown away. So now for our viewers,
Heather, hang on. Can I interrupt you for just a second? We had a question come through on YouTube, so I wanted to make sure we get that answered. This comes from William Jones. He says, first thought, overwhelmed, but as all things Google, the work done up front makes for better efficiency later. Outstanding work. First step suggestion, since the space theme is already taken.
Oh, theming, Wes. Do you want to address that? Staff theming. You need to unmute, Wes. Talk to us a little bit.
I guess, do you see, Brooke, do you see this as a theming question or a collaboration question? Like first step?
I think I see it as more of a, you know, what's a good starting point, a good jumping off point so that everything is kind of streamlined together. So I think it's kind of both, really.
Okay, so I would say that I can do a quick screen share and show a document that would help make sense of this, because I think there is a visioning. There's a lot of visioning that occurs before this. So I will share our flight book with you guys. So on the blog that we use, all of our mission vision links are there. So we have a flight book that really, it's not something that we reference continuously. I think it's something we reference as a part of the work with new teachers. But this is something that it talks about what it means to be a part of our school and what it means to be a part of a professional learning community. And being able to articulate that, what does it mean to fly closer on a page? Say you take one page and you articulate, what does our mentoring and coaching model look like? What does it mean to be on a PLC team? I think that's part of the process. Without this conversation first, very difficult to just jump into anything else. So.
Well, and I'm going to jump in on that too, if you don't care, because with my fellowship that I just started working through, Heather helped me sort of, I think, start that first thing. So, you know, a part of that question, you know, I feel like is him figuring out maybe what their initial mission is and then relating everything back to that. So Heather, you may want to jump in on this too, because we literally she helped me with this weekend, coming up with an intentional mission and then figuring out, you know, how we're relating everything back to that work that we've outlined in the mission, which I think was probably your initial steps to really get started with a lot of this. Because I ain't gonna lie, Wes, I stole all of this weekend and did all of it with my fellows this weekend after listening to your original talk. So I think it's very powerful. But Heather, do you want to jump in on maybe some of that?
Yeah, I think, you know, Scott, I know Scott. Hey, Scott, we're so glad that you have joined into view today. Encourage principals to start with the cultural foundation, because none of this matters if you don't create a culture where this stuff is going to thrive. So it goes all the way back to the mission statement. At Thomas Nelson, ours was college career citizenship, and all of our work, everything we did, the reason we showed up to work every day was to fulfill that mission. Then we worked on the visioning and the values. And then we went to our staff theme. And I always talk to principals about the importance of a good staff theme. Our staff theme had to align to the book, The Icarus Deception from Seth Godin. And our hashtag for staff was Fly Closer, hence the strong astronaut theme. And lots of districts have heard me talk about that across the state. So, you know, I think before you even get to the staff theme, you've got to go all the way back to your mission. And that's what Brooke and I worked on this weekend. And she has crafted a brilliant mission for the Hardin County Innovate Group. So Scott, I think that's where you start. And then from there, you start going into other aspects of creating those structures for PLCs and then your collaboration model for teachers. So that's where I would start. Okay, any other questions on the question line there, Ms. Whitlow?
I have been following Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. Now that is all I have seen so far. So I think we're good to go into our next piece.
Awesome. Okay, so the next piece of this, now that Wes has provided us this beautiful view of this model, and he's really zoomed out to show us all these pieces, all these tools working in concert to create this digital workflow, now our team of experts are going to sweep in to teach you the skills that you would need to develop each tool. So I believe we are starting with Miss Courtney. Miss Courtney, can you take it from here?
I sure can. Starting off, and Wes covered so many different tools, so I'm going to share my screen. One of the tools that, can you all see my screen?
We can. We're good, girl.
Everything good? Okay, good. One of the tools that he showed was slides. And the fact that you can link things, it's very set up like a PowerPoint, except it's a lot easier. And so all your tools you'll see are the same, but how you start making the connections, how you lay out what you will be using is just like PowerPoint. You can have already ready. And then you could also have one that you want to use as blank. I love how he talked about transparency and how everyone can see this. So once you share this with your building, everyone can add their slide and make their PLCs very unique. So everything's the same as it would be in PowerPoint. You can change your background. What I really like about slides is how you can go and you can have a master slide and you can edit this master slide if you want to have a certain background and you don't want it to be original. So you can start out the slide for your building and then you can go ahead and send it out to your teachers and then they can add slides. So they can change the background. If they want to change it a different color, they can go to background. They can make that any color that they want. And then they can go ahead and inside of that slide, they can have a text box. If you want to format that slide, have teacher, or you can have LCT, you can have that box with an outline of the color like Wes did on his slide. If you want to hyperlink that, as he talked about, hyperlinking that so that other so it can reach out to other documents. You can hyperlink that. You can add different, you can insert pictures if you would like. The neat thing about slides is if you have an image that you can find on your Google Drive or you just want to search. I love how they do the fly closer. So you all talked about themes. If you want to be the Avengers, yeah, you could have a superhero theme and you could have your team, you can insert that in and you could link that out to your team meeting sheets right here. And that could actually go inside of their presentation. What I also like is how Wes had each team member was linked to a sheet that he could just click on and it goes straight to what he was wanting to see. All you have to do is actually find a shape. A circle will do, and let's say that you want to be the Hulk. And you can put that shape there and then set your, they can set the transparency for the color to be transparent. And that way you don't see that little link there. But when you go over it, all you have to do is when you click on that, sorry, let me find where I'm at here. you'll see this little link button. So often I forget to click down the more, but you'll see this little link button. When you click that link, you can link anything in your slide presentation, which is really nice, very easily, but you can also link to an outside source. So if you were wanting to click to a specific teacher page, you could put that link in there and then just select apply, and it would go right with it. So there's lots of neat things you can do. I know as they talk about docs and they talk about forms, when you highlight anything on a slide deck, you can always go up and press that link. So in one slide deck, whether you're presenting to your teachers or if you are having PLCs use this, I would encourage them to link this to their documents that they're using so that it's a one-stop shop for you and it's a one-stop shop for them. Okay.
Okay, so real quick, let me, we had a couple more comments pop in on YouTube. So Jennifer Cox says, love the idea of shared slides for PLC transparency. So each PLC inserts hyperlinks to data, norms, meeting schedules, etc. Is that right, Wes?
Yeah, so we call it a PLC MDC, and that document is really the organizing agent for the team. They have two slides on the shared slide deck, the one with the picture of their links, and the other one is the MDC. But then they have their own home base blog that they link that slide into. So yeah.
Okay. Well, while you were talking, Wes, I wrote down a quote that I will be sketchnoting and tweeting out because you said Google allows you to scratch your own itch. Did anybody else catch that? Is that not a pretty nice quote from Wes Bradley? I'll be, like I said, articulating that and visualizing that out. So I'll be tagging you in that one later. But I do love Google Slides just because of those visual elements. I'm going to screen share with you guys and just kind of talk about, once you have something like that, can you guys give me a thumbs up? Am I good? Okay. Once you have your stuff made and you're ready to get that out to your teachers, Google Classroom is a really great tool to be able to distribute that out and kind of manage that workflow. And I would say that creating a Google Classroom is going to be a good first step. So if you do, decide that you want to create a Google slideshow with an MDC, template, which we're going to give you those resources at the end to be able to kind of take and adapt. But you're going to see that I have done the exact same thing, sort of, and adapted what Wes has talked about to our HCS Innovate Fellowship. But what you're looking at right now is a Google Classroom. And we have several principals in Hardin County that have decided to use Google Classroom as a digital infrastructure space, and we're going to have another series that's completely dedicated to digital infrastructures in the coming months. So, but this is Woodland Elementary School. You can kind of see these are our administrators here. So it is a really great workflow solution. If you've never been in here before, when you first sign in to Google Classroom, you're going to want to make sure that you select that you're a teacher so that you have the ability to create a class. Once you create your class, then you're going to name it and hit create. I'm going to go ahead and click on my HCS Innovate Teacher Fellowship Classroom. I do love that inside of Classroom, you have the ability to create topics over here on the left. And like I said, I'm not going to go into a whole lot on digital infrastructures, but there's a lot of really great tools inside of Classroom to kind of help you manage that workflow. What I want to specifically show you today is creating assignments, which you're going to find that plus sign in the bottom right-hand corner of Google Classroom on the stream page. When you create an assignment, this is going to allow you to attach items from your Google Drive and also from YouTube, or you can upload stuff from your desktop or link it to an external website. I'm going to just go in here and type some stuff. So down here, anytime you see the Google Drive logo there, that's going to link up to your most recent files in your Google Drive. Now you can see that we have really been, let's see, these are Bitmojis that I've uploaded in the past like 30 minutes. We are definitely going with the drive theme this year, but you'll see that this is going to bring up the things that you've edited most recently. So if I go in here and I just click on this initial vision deck and click add, one of the things that you're going to notice is right beside that Google slide, you're going to see a drop-down box with the ability to make a copy for each student. So I'm going to actually exit out of this window here, and I'm going to go into, actually I posted this assignment this morning. And I did pass out a Google slideshow to each of our fellows. So you'll notice that on this assignment screen here, this is all of their individual Google slides. So this is, you know, I feel like Google Classroom is a good first step. I know it can be overwhelming, especially if you're, you know, doing evaluations on a clipboard with paper. You know, going from that model to looking at Wes's model can be overwhelming, but I think Google Classroom is a good transitional tool to help you get there, because you do kind of have some of this workflow built in. So when I click on Kelsey, right there from inside of Classroom, it'll take me to Kelsey's Sonic Boom project. Okay. And one of the things too that I just want to, you know, kind of reiterate, Courtney talked about it and Wes talked about it here inside of Google Slides. Sorry, I'm stealing all the bandwidth here. It's taking a minute to load. So if I go all the way down to the bottom of my slideshow, her slideshow, maybe awkward waiting. Okay. So I have linked us up back to our original vision deck, or you're going to see that it looks very similar to what Wes was showing. I just kind of adapted it a little bit to make it fit our goals. But again, with the living, you know, the living documents and having separate pieces that it's all the moving parts, Google allows you to kind of connect all of those back together. So you'll see here, this is our slide deck that everyone can edit. And I can look on here right now and see that the last person in here was Megan Richardson, and it looks like somebody's in there right now too. So, so it's really cool. And you'll see here their individual Bitmojis are all linked to their separate slide decks. So anyway, just a couple of things there inside of Google Classroom to kind of help you get started with that piece of it.
Awesome, Brooke. And once again, I want to point out the fact that her cultural theme with the driving is really playing out in the narrative of all those tools, because we're constantly connecting back to the mission of our work and the theme that we're using to inspire and motivate people towards that work. So I love seeing all those little Bitmojis with the people in the cars driving forward and your sonic booms. And that's really what helps get to people's hearts and connect to the work and the mission of the work. So Elaine, you're going to take us to the final system of how we pull all of this together for the instructional coaching model. So Elaine?
Okay, so let's see, we're going to share my screen, and I wanted to show everybody that once you go into our resource link, you are going to be able to, which will be attached to this video, but it is Kentucky Go Digital Live 9/18/17 resources. And once you go into that, it's going to be able to put you in to your drive, and one of the key things that you need to do is make sure that you make a copy of this. So if you'll click on the drop down arrow once it shows up, if you click on this drop down arrow and then you say add to my drive, then you're actually going to just be placing it into your drive. You're not actually making your own copy just as of yet. So then once you go into your drive, you are going to be able to see that most recent thing. And then you're going to want to make sure that you make a copy of this. So let's see, go to most recent, and then, okay, let's go in, find it. Should have pushed locate when I had it. There we go. And then you can make a copy of these resources that are inside here. So one of the things that we talked about that Wes was sharing with us was how to, let me go back here. Wes was showing us how to use Google Sheets. And so once you've made your own copy of these type of things, you can go into your drive and then click Google Sheets and keep that all together. So he had every single teacher was located in that first column A. And just to go over some of the things that Courtney showed with us was to link those MDC slides to those people so that he could keep up with when they were met and when they were not met. Linked those individual people by typing in their name and then highlighting them, and then depending on whether your screen is minimized or maximized, you'll see that link button, which is right here. So once you click that, you can grab that link of their slide and then link each individual person to that so that he has access to that. Or so that
I think, real quick, for clarity's sake, Elaine, I think each person, the MDC was actually on a doc. The PLC work was on a slide. So it's actually, the MDC is a Google Doc that you would then link into that cell. So as the principal, all of those people would be linked together. And then the other piece of advice that he gave everyone was to make sure, once you get that instructional matrix built, to make sure to bookmark it up in the Omnibox using that star. So just a point of clarity. Keep going. You're doing great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and those are Google Docs. I misspoke for sure. But putting those, getting those links are easiest when you can. So if you click that, we're grabbing a Google Doc. But once you start a new Google Doc, you can select inside your drive and then get that link by using that link button as well and copying that. About a shortcut, which was Control K, and that is a wonderful shortcut to create links as well. But inside this, you can link items by using that link button and then placing the link accordingly to that document and then applying, and it becomes a hyperlink. So it keeps everything all together for sure. And again, those resources are going to be on bit.ly/Kentucky Go Digital, and then 9/18/17 today, and then resources. And everybody should be able to find everything. And we're probably going to be dumping more in as we brainstorm and think, oh, this would be good for them to have as well. So keep checking on it as well so that all your resources are all in one spot for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elaine. You have been instrumental in pulling and streamlining all these resources together in support of the channel. So big shout out to you. Wes, anything else now that they've done a quick blitz through each of the tools that you use? Anything that you'd like to add before we close out?
I mean, like anything, you're going to learn by doing. And I think the key is doing. You're either getting, we either have a choice, I think, just to get caught up in the day-to-day compliance and accounting world of education, and or we can spend our time trying to create and architect systems that are going to build something that is empowering others. So that's, I mean, you just got to start building it.
Agreed. Start building it. And really what we need to make clear is, Wes, we started building 5 years ago. So this is 5 years of thinking about this infrastructure on so many different fronts. And even since I've left, you've kicked it up to the next level. So you just have to start somewhere. So even if you just start with one piece, the hard part is getting started. And once you get started, then it'll start to build some momentum, and you'll see all kinds of awesome ideas that you can make happen to lead your school. So guys, this was an awesome show. I know there are so many pieces at play. The model is very sophisticated, and there are a lot of tools used to integrate it and execute it. So I think people watching the show, the fact that we've given them the power of pause will be very important, because I could foresee them going back and watching pieces again and again. What do you all think about that?
Absolutely. That's why we're doing Kentucky Go Digital Live, right? That's how it started.
That's right. So awesome show. And I always get asked by principal and district leaders. They're always asking me, Heather, after you leave, how can I receive continued support? So we just wanted to highlight a couple ways. First of all, obviously, like we just said, you have the power of pause with our on-demand videos on our channel. So you should probably subscribe to Kentucky Go Digital Live. You just click the little subscribe button on our YouTube channel, and Elaine does a really great job of keeping all the videos up to date and the archive refreshed and the resources in there as well. Also, Brooke, you have launched something that we're really excited about. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Kentucky Go Digital Live Facebook page?
Yes. Okay. Can you see my screen? Are we good? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Thank you. So you can find us on Facebook. We are facebook.com.
Uh-oh, somebody just muted Brooke. Brooke, could you start over again? You need to unmute.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so here is our Facebook page. You can find us at facebook.com/Kentucky Go Digital Live. But if you just type in Kentucky Go Digital, I would say that you could probably find us on Facebook. We will be posting our events here on our page, so you can stay connected and continue the conversation there after the event is over. So we'll be posting those, and we will also be going live from our Facebook page as Kentucky Go Digital regional events start to pop up, and as really amazing things are happening around the Bluegrass. You can stay connected with us there.
Also, you can follow and contribute to our Kentucky Go Digital hashtag. And I want to give a big shout out to all of our Kentucky Go Digital enthusiasts across the state who are constantly sharing great ideas or giving us little snippets of what's going on in their schools and classrooms and districts to really connect the good ideas to other people here in Kentucky. So shout out to all those people. Also, there is some groundwork taking place for regional Kentucky Go Digital events next summer. So stay tuned for that. And also, we have a couple of events coming up. One is the P3 Principal Ed Camp. We are partnering with the team at KDE to provide a Kentucky Go Digital strand featuring principals like Chase Goff from Caverna, who's doing awesome digital workflow work out there, Melody Stacy up in Kenton County, Faith Stroud, shout out to her, and JCPS. So we will have a strand at the Principal Ed Camp. We will put the link to register in our show notes as well. Lastly, Elaine, so you shared where they can get resources and templates, and also we'll have a spot actually on our channel with these links as well. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Those links are going to be under the description of this video, so that it should be hyperlinked, and you should just be able to click there quite easily and get all of these resources in a folder for you.
So Elaine, one more. So you're going to work on putting the opener to our show. When can our viewers expect to be able to access the archive of this show today?
As soon as it uploads, and then it should be live, and they can revisit it as many times as they want.
Fantastic. So thank you, everyone. A lot of brilliance, and that's really the power of Kentucky Go Digital, bringing rockstar purple cows together to share and inspire and force multiply good ideas across the state for kids. And that's why we're doing this for the kids here in Kentucky. So thanks for coming together from across the states. Don't forget, you can continue to connect with us through social media. And until next time, Kentucky Go Digital. Thanks, Mr. Bradley.
Bye.